So, hello and welcome to Theatre and Tonic, where I am so delighted to be bringing this guest on today. I have been so excited about this show. I think it's one of the shows that is going to really steal it for many people who will be flooding to see it. And that is, of course, Winnie the Pooh. So, hi, Jake. Can you begin by kind of introducing yourself and kind of who you're going to be playing in Winnie the Pooh?
Well, yeah, hi. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Jake Bazel. I am a puppeteer and a voice actor based out of New York initially, and I am here in London playing Winnie the Pooh in Winnie the Pooh, the new musical stage adaptation. I can't wait.
It's so exciting. So how are you finding London? How has it been kind of transitioning over here?
It's been an absolute dream thus far. That being said, we've been hard at work in rehearsals. So we've been working wonderful long week, so I haven't seen much of London just yet, but I can't wait. I'm starting my list of things that I've gotta see, gotta get done. We did take a trip just a couple days ago to the actual Hundred Acre Wood. We took our gorgeous set of puppets and we took the whole cast and the whole company out to Ashdown Forest, where A.A. Milne and the real Christopher Robin lived and the stories were born. And we were able to kind of explore for a day, and that was just unreal. I mean, it was a wonderful welcome to the UK.
Amazing. So for those who don't know about you then, kind of where did your journey kind of begin? Because obviously you're from New York, so I guess kind of your journey into theatre probably isn't very, is it the same as what maybe you would have had here in the UK, or has it been quite different?
Yeah, so I've got one foot in the theater world, certainly, but I really come from more of a kids media background. A lot of my first jobs in the city and a lot of the work I continue to do is more in the kids TV, family TV space. I was incredibly fortunate to start at Sesame Street when I first got to New York, working with all those brilliant puppeteers at Sesame Street and Muppets, and then on a few other Sesame Workshop projects as well. So a lot of sort of the learning about the industry, learning about the craft I got from those phenomenal performers, which was really such a gift. And now I do spend sort of half my time in the world of theater and half my time in the world of TV, which is an absolute blast. And of course, I did this show. I did Pooh back in New York in its initial run. So I mean, it's just a total dream to be not only to be returning to it at all, but to be returning to it here in this space is, without being too cliche, I mean, it's a total dream come true. Really, it is.
And what's it like then kind of bringing Pooh to life? Because for a lot of people, I mean, I read the Winnie the Pooh books growing up. I was really fascinated by it. So what is it like to kind of bring that book to life?
It's a wonderful mix of absolute joy and intense pressure. I think I will say the pressure that I feel is entirely self-inflicted because I just obviously want to give people exactly what they expect when they step in to see Winnie the Pooh live on stage. We tend to play this show in sort of smaller, more intimate venues. So it really feels like you are kind of stepping into the Hundred Acre Wood when you see the show. And, when Pooh walks out, I want everyone to go, there he is. I want that reaction out of folks. So I've put in a ton of hours watching and listening and rereading those books, going back through the whole Disney catalog of everywhere Winnie the Pooh has been. I've sort of taken it all in to try to give them the most full and correct depiction of Winnie the Pooh that I think everyone's expecting. But yeah, I mean, it's an absolute joy. It's an absolute blast. Winnie the Pooh is all love. So we get that sent our way from every audience. We really, truly do. And to kind of get to send that back out, it doesn't get old. It really doesn't.
And when you're kind of putting like that kind of research with Pooh, has it been a long process, and how, what are the challenges of doing that research?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't necessarily a challenge as much as it was, I'm a total nerd about that kind of stuff. So I had an absolute blast with it. I started a little notebook of all my notes that I've got. I had the great fortune of being attached to the show since it's like very, very, very beginnings. Obviously, shows like this go through many rounds of workshops and many rounds of readings to make sure, that we're getting it right and that it's moving how it wants to move. So I was reading Pooh in those initial table reads, and then was able to stay on with it all the way through this whole process, which, I think very rarely happens, and I'm incredibly grateful for it. But yeah, I've been playing the character now for 5 years, since 2018, in one form or another. So I feel at this point very at home in it, which is really, really nice. Um, he just sort of he lives back there in my brain at all times, and I can just sort of pop him out, and it's great. It's great
You
fun.
find yourself like slipping into his voice though sometimes when you least expect to.
You know what? I've tried to keep a good lid on it. It's very tempting some days. It can be a good party trick, I will say. Um, when I'm most guilty of that when we're in rehearsal with the rest of the cast, because then even when we're on a 15-minute break between runs, it's just like Pooh's in the room, Tiger's in the room, everyone's chatting, everyone's having a good time. So once you get the other characters up and going, then it's hard to stop for sure.
And obviously now it's transferred from Broadway to London. So with that process, is it different from Broadway? Can you tell us a little bit about like that journey? Is it different from Broadway, or have they tried to establish it within its own kind of presentation here?
Yeah, so I mean, the only real difference from the New York production is that we've got this beautiful new UK cast. So I'm the only cast member that's been brought over, and it's a new team of really, I mean, beautifully talented puppeteers, singers, actors, comedians. I mean, these folks are absolutely just doing brilliant, brilliant work, and it's been an absolute pleasure to play alongside them. And of course, we're finding slightly different things. There is certainly more of an English sensibility, I think, in this production than there was in New York, because we are using a UK cast. But other than that, it is the show that we played in New York. So and that show played extremely well in New York, and folks loved it there. So we're excited to bring it over and bring it to a whole new audience, bring it to a whole new world of people.
Absolutely. And with this production as well, then, because like you said, you're kind of a voice actor, but you're also a puppeteer. So do they bring their own kind of, is it quite a demanding role in that sense, being a puppeteer and kind of always being like, like visible, moving him?
I for one love that we're visible in this show. I'm a huge fan of that kind of, tactile analog theater, where the goal isn't necessarily to sort of hide away how the trick is being done, right? I love that we're including the audience in on that. It feels a lot to me like we're sort of saying, here, come and play with us. We're almost like Christopher Robin up there on the stage, each playing with our own giant life-size beautiful toy. And then we've got this audience that are sort of in on that game with us, which feels very quintessentially Winnie the Pooh, I think, to me. It's not a challenge. It's really it's an absolute joy. And certainly in the 65, 70 minutes that the show takes place, we all just kind of get lost in these characters. So it doesn't feel like, oh, this is a lot of work. Oh, this is, X, Y, or Z. It's just, we are who we are, Tigger. We're up there and we're just playing. Yeah.
That sounds really fun. I'm really excited by it. And I guess as well, because it's going on a UK tour. So that must be a whole different thing as well, because you're going to see so many different audiences as you're going around. So is there any kind of cities you're really looking forward to kind of taking Winnie the Pooh to?
So I am not doing the UK tour.
I know.
The phenomenal. I know it's the visas, it's the paperwork. There's all this stuff above my head that, quite frankly, I don't understand any of it. But I'm just grateful to be here at all. I'll say that. But the brilliant Benjamin Durham is covering Pooh in this run, is also playing Pooh in the London run, and then is taking on the role for the tour. And he's just like everybody else. He's absolutely brilliant and so charming and so sweet. His take on the character is incredibly lovable. So I think audiences are going to have the best time with him on that tour.
And how do you feel about that? Because kind of like you say, you've been in this role for a very long time. How do you feel about like kind of passing over those reins a little bit and kind of letting that little bit of poo go?
Well, it's the brotherhood of the Bear Very Little Brain. We did this show as well over in Chicago last year. It feels like time is I couldn't tell you when it was, but we did a sit down as well in Chicago, and it was a similar thing where I began it, and then a brilliant puppeteer out there took it over, and it's nice. It's a very specific show, and it's a very specific role inside of a very specific show. To get to share that experience with other performers, other puppeteers who like know it in the same intimate way that I do, and know how that show sort of feels and what that experience is like, has actually been has been a pleasure to get to share that with folks. And it's nice to, I was watching a run that Ben was doing today, and getting to sit and watch it and watch Pooh up there and do his thing it's always fun, to get lost in it and to actually to relax for one.
If you could play, though, any different character from Winnie the Pooh, do you think you would have gravitated towards?
I think I'm going to say either Rabbit is fun in all his neuroses, or Owl is also a fun one. Owls, they're both very... I mean, the fun thing about all these characters is they're sort of all lost in their own world in their own way, right? I often say they've all got like one puzzle piece missing, and they sort of need each other to fill out that picture. But yeah, Rabbit's just, he's very here, and they're stressed the whole time, which I can certainly relate to. And then Owl, of course, is just the complete misplaced confidence of, yes, I know everything, and no one here knows anything. And, there's great comedy in that these guys are, playing beautifully. But I think those are the two that I'd maybe want to take a crack at.
Definitely. And with Winnie the Pooh, then, there is obviously this musical element. So is there a lot of really kind of new songs in there? And what song do you kind of feel like really encompasses this production?
Mm-hmm. So the whole show is underscored with a beautiful score written by Nate Edmondson, which pulls in a lot of sort of the musical themes that we've heard in certainly in past films, but also in the 80s Disney cartoon. We've got some of that in there if you listen close enough. But then all the actual songs, the songs that we're actually performing throughout the show, are all those original Sherman Brothers songs that you know and love. So we retooled them. They're in different places in different stories. This is a fresh story. But we've been able to apply those songs to this new story as well. So it's, all those Blustery Day and Rumbly and My Tumbly and Winnie the Pooh and Wonderful Thing About Tiggers. It's all the songs that when you think Winnie the Pooh, those are the ones that get stuck in your head. We've got them all.
Brilliant. So one final question then, Jake. I'm going to ask Pooh if he could encourage people to come and see the show. Why should they come and see Winnie the Pooh?
Well, let me tell you, I'm so very glad I've been asked a question. I've just been sitting here the whole time, very comfortable. Well, you should come and see this adventure, I will say, because the whole thing just feels like one big hug, and I do believe that everyone could use a hug now and again. Wouldn't you agree?
Definitely. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Pooh.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you. Thank you for having me. What is this, a podcast? What is this?
It's an interview.
It's an interview. Is that like a heffalump?
Yes, it is.
Oh, well, then I don't think I like interviews. Cool. Oh, I'm going to go have some honey and calm down a bit. How does that sound?
Sounds good, Pooh. Thank you so much, Jake. It's been an absolute pleasure. It's
Thank you very much.
I'm like straight away, like captivated. I'm like, oh my God.
Thank you.
Honestly, when I saw you at the press launch, I'd already said like straight away, I was like, you just look, it sounds awful, but you do almost look past the puppeteer. And I was like, this is Pooh.
That's our plan. I mean, that's our hope, right? Is that we're trying to fade. So that's actually the greatest compliment you could give. So thank you very much. I'm glad you didn't notice me at all.
Thank you so much for your time, Jake, to chat about Winnie the Pooh. Good luck with it. I cannot wait to come and see it. at Riverside
Thank you.
Studios. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.